So we are here with Carli Brucker at the WaterSmart Innovations AWWA conference, where she just spoke in a session on water and wildfire. Tell us a little about this connection between water and wildfire, why we need to think about it, especially from the utility perspective.
Okay, yeah, of course. So my name is Carli Brucker. I'm with Carollo engineers based out of Broomfield, Colorado. I do a lot of water resources engineering. So wildfires are here, they're here to stay, and so it's really important to know what their effects are on water quality and supply. The research that I completed used a big data set and some statistical analyses to look at some of the longer term impacts of wildfires on our water quality. And we really saw some pretty sharp increases in sedimentation rates, dissolved organic matter, nutrients that were elevated across up to 8 years. Utilities, it's really important for utilities to be increasingly thinking about this and preparing for wildfires so that they're ready when one occurs.
Yeah, and I mean, this is an issue for those who are in areas that are subject to wildfires. People have known about for a while, but some of our audience may not be familiar. What are the kinds of ways, what happens if there's a fire upstream and say the headwaters, and you've got a reservoir downstream?
Yeah, so one of the biggest effects, or the most common effects that I've heard 100 utilities talk about are these really drastic debris flows and these really high sedimentation rates. And so in the context of a reservoir, that can result in a lot of reservoir filling. Someone yesterday was just telling me that a reservoir was filled almost halfway by post-wildfire sediment.
Yeah.
And so on the reservoir side, that's a really significant impact that's super hard to mitigate or fix. And then on the water treatment side, if that source water is going straight to a water treatment plant, then the water treatment plant can just be overwhelmed by high sedimentation rates, high dissolved organic matter, nutrients, etc.
Yeah. And so what are some of the steps that you're finding that the utilities, and so in your study you talked to many utilities all over the West, or how many states, or what was your area?
Across the U.S. West, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of the steps that they're taking to prepare for, to recover from the impacts of wildfire?
Mm-hmm. So there's a couple different approaches that I've seen utilities take. One that I think is just, the return on investment can be huge, is increasing watershed health. So creating better riparian areas. I saw a site recently where they were doing some beaver habitat restoration and using natural systems like that to build a natural wildfire prevention and mitigation. And so I think increasing watershed health is a huge one. And then on the treatment side, increasing resiliency of processes. So building additional sedimentation basins, having a lot of flexibility in disinfection processes, and kind of identifying areas of the treatment process that could be overwhelmed by one of these post-wildfire water quality effects.
No. And while I was at graduate school and living in Colorado, at a time when we had, say, the Hayman fire, I don't know if you've heard of that, when you're getting a combination of changes in forest management and climate change impacts, we're getting these hotter fires, the soil turning to glass, and how is this becoming more widespread? This need to be prepared for wildfire.
Yeah, so you totally touched on it. So we've been seeing an increase in what's called the wildland-urban interface. So that's you can kind of think of it as like a long line of houses that are really close to forested areas that are susceptible to wildfires, myself included. I've been living in Boulder for about 6 years and was in the evacuation zone of the Marshall Fire, which was very fortunate to not have any of my property harmed. But so yeah, we've seen this increase in cities next to forests, but then also, as you mentioned, an uptick in these mega fires, which are just these huge wildfires burning at an insane severity and a size that's completely unprecedented. And there's so many effects that we've never seen before that we're now seeing. One person told me the story about there's been more and more of these zombie fires, where fires have been burning at such a high intensity that the fire goes all the way down tree roots and then will continue to burn, and then those tree roots will connect and fire can travel across the ground and burn for a year without being detected and pop up in another location later. So effects like that are just completely unprecedented, and we're needing to gather more information every day.
Wow. And so so now are the utilities getting more active then in source water protection and thinking about forested headwaters and actually investing in those activities to prevent these super fires from occurring?
Absolutely. I think that there's been such an increase in utility perception and I guess emphasis that this is a real problem that needs to be addressed and prepared for, and it's something that I think I've had just 100 different folks working at utilities come up to me and tell me their concerns, and it's something that everyone's concerned about, but I think it's difficult to figure out what the next steps are with how unpredictable wildfires are, and finding funding for something that's not a concrete danger. And so I think that those next steps are kind of tough to figure out sometimes for utilities, but there's been an increase in just like this great community of everyone helping each other out and trying to figure out how we can all prepare for wildfires together.
Fantastic. Well, it was a great presentation, a great session, bringing together folks from Hawaii, from Colorado, from various areas that are experiencing and learning from each other, from what's going on in California, what's going on in many different areas. And so, well, thank you so much for the work that you're doing and name your session again. Your presentation was?
It was the it's a very long, boring name, but it was the broad regional effects of wildfires on water quality and supply in the U.S. West.
Fantastic. Well, if anyone's looking for the proceedings, they can find that at the WaterSmart Innovations Conference. And thank you so much for your time, Carli Brucker.
Thank you so much.